welcome to Just Between Us. Today is a very special day and a very special episode because my book, Overthinking About You, Navigating Romantic Relationships When You Have Anxiety, OCD, and/or Depression, is officially out in the world. And in honor of this, I'm going to call it historic moment for me personally, I have asked my boyfriend, John, to come on this show and interview me about the book. John has never made a public appearance before with his face, but I said, hey, please. And so he said, okay. Welcome, John.
Hi.
Do you want to hold the book?
Yeah. Sure. Love to hold the book.
Do you want to show people how beautiful, would you recommend somebody buy it?
Yeah, definitely. No, yeah, it's really beautiful. We got these beautiful headings in here. There's experts, and there's quite a bit of you in this book.
There is quite a bit of me. That's a question I actually have for you because...
I thought I was the interviewer. This is a complete role reversal. So far, you've just told me what to do. But I thought I was supposed to run the interview.
Okay,
you go. You go.
You do it.
No, you go.
I guess I was going to say... I had already written this book pretty much when we had met.
Right.
And early on, in the first few months of dating, you read it. And what was that experience like for you to learn so much about me through a book?
Pretty weird. But there was already so much of you out in the internet, so it wasn't totally from left field. It was interesting. It was interesting to see how honestly well-adjusted I thought you were as a person.
Compared to the anecdotes in the book.
Right, yeah. Compare the you in the book versus you in my life.
So would you say that even though this book will prove at one point I was very much a nightmare to date.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what is your experience dating me?
Not a nightmare. That's for sure. You're not a nightmare. But let me ask you, how was it for you to write something so vulnerable?
I would say that for the most part, it was pretty easy because I had I've talked about my life online for so long. But the chapter 6, what sex got to do with it, that was very hard.
Yeah, I bet.
I did not want to write that chapter. I hated editing that chapter. I hated recording the audiobook for that chapter. But I think it was really important because anxiety and depression and medication, all of that stuff has a big impact on that part of people's life, and it would be disingenuous not to include it.
And that was a subject that previously you hadn't discussed with people, publicly?
No, never.
So this is the first time you've talked about it. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I was very worried for you to read it.
Yeah, it was interesting, because usually these things come out over the course of a relationship, over a longer period of time, and there they were, right in this book that's available in paperback this week at a bookstore near you. What do you think is there a big misconception, say the number one misconception you've had of dating while having OCD throughout the years, or do people make certain assumptions about you because of OCD, anxiety, depression in a relationship that you hope to dispel, or?
I think that there's such a difference between saying to somebody, I have OCD or I have anxiety, and them going, oh, okay, and then the reality of what that means day to day. Because my OCD affects us and affects our relationship. And did you fully understand that at the beginning?
Probably not.
Right.
Probably not. Yeah. I mean, at first it was just nice that your house was so clean. But then it's, the little things but I think honestly you make a real try to meet me in the middle sometimes where I'm less willing to accommodate certain things. It comes down to what we want to accommodate. It's a negotiation, I feel a lot of the times, where if it doesn't really matter that much to me, I just kind of give in to the, if there's something that you feel really important about cleanliness or something like that. But then other times it feels this is a pretty big inconvenience for me, and you kind of say, okay, I'll deal with it.
Right. Like today when your sweatpants touched a suitcase and I wanted to wash them, and then I could tell that you did not want me to do that.
Yeah, I did not want you to do that.
So then I said, okay, I will push through that discomfort of not being allowed to wash your sweatpants.
And you did great.
And I did it.
Yeah.
What were some of your takeaways from reading the book?
Well, one is how funny the book is. Honestly, like, it's a really funny book for a book that's just like about OCD and dating and stuff. It's like
anxiety
and anxiety and depression. Yeah. Like I mean, look at like. I'm just going to read. I'm tempted to seek reassurance about in cases that ring any bells. Is my dog happy? Does my dog know I love her? Am I a good dog mom? I mean, those are just like three. Those are the things that swirl around your head, huh?
Well, how many times have I asked you that?
Multiple times today. The answer to those questions are yes, I'm not sure, maybe, and definitely yes. In that order. So hopefully you remember what the questions were. How do you think this book, writing this book, as you wrote it while you were still in your previous relationship?
I wrote most of it while I was in my previous.
And then what was the process like going back and having perspective after that relationship ended and finishing it or editing it while our relationship was beginning?
It was very strange.
Yeah.
You know, I say in the book that like when I was writing the first draft of the book and I was engaged to somebody else, I felt like, I felt like I'm mentally stronger than I've ever been, but also I don't know that for sure. Like I felt like I had written in the book like this part where I'd said, and if my fiance left me, I know I'd be okay. But I didn't really know that for sure. I was like hoping that was the case. And then when he did leave me, I suddenly had proof that that was the case. And that like, even though it was so devastating and I was so heartbroken, I felt really mentally strong considering the circumstances. Like I didn't mentally fall apart. I just maybe emotionally went through a really tough time, if that makes sense. So I felt like, even though I didn't like that experience, it made me feel like I had more faith in what it was that I was writing and talking about.
So do you think the process of editing the book and putting it out there in the world is somewhat healing for you or from that experience? Or do you think no?
I think writing that final chapter was healing for me because the final chapter I had to completely rewrite. And that definitely helped me process the loss of it all. And the gain.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Speaking of the game, do you think this puts you in a position to, kind of like secure or find yourself, something even better, like I wouldn't use the term dream man, but like, like if someone were to use that term.
I feel like I use a lot of the lessons in this book in our relationship. Like what you want me to just say that you're my dream man?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the entire purpose of me asking the question.
Yes, you're my dream man. Well, I don't like that kind of terms. We are together building my dream relationship.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you did say I was the dream man at the beginning of when you first started talking about this. So we'll just move on. Okay. Hey, I'm looking at chapter 4 right now, and it says, how do I talk about mental health with my partner? Do you remember some of the pieces of advice you give in this chapter?
I think one of the big pieces is to not info dump, that you can share your mental health history more over time than like let me sit down and like take you through every single thing that's ever happened to me. And I feel like I tried to do that with you. Like I gave you some background, but then I think as we got to know each other more, then the specifics came up.
Right. I mean, even now, like things come out, right? Like, which is pretty interesting.
But I feel like things come out about your mental health too.
Oh my God, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
100%. I think it's perfectly normal that over the course of a relationship, you don't have to. It's not like a job or something where you're submitting all the relevant information and then you make a decision. You're getting to know someone over hopefully a lifetime or a very long period of time, right? Because do you think what is it about anxiety, OCD, and depression that makes you want to info dump at the beginning?
I think for me it was this fear of like take me or leave me. Like let me just put all my cards out on the table so that then like we can make a decision right away and I don't have to like I don't have to sit in the discomfort of the relationship unfolding at a natural pace.
Right.
And like, I don't know, just sort of like having this like rehearsed speech about it, like, you know, just in later years getting a bit more like case by case, more natural way of sharing, and also like being better at like when do I share and in what environment do I share. That like you want it to be like a calm environment, and the way that you share is just as important as like the content that you're sharing.
So what about when you yell sometimes throughout the house that your compulsions are winning? Your compulsions are winning, and does that fall under the calm category, or how do we talk about that? Those moments.
That's me using humor to deal with what's going on.
Which is throughout this book, I would say.
Like I sometimes have to make fun of myself, or else I think I would be too sad about the reality of my life.
So you're not just like looking at mental illness through the lens of woe is me or the downsides of it. You're looking at it, or you're trying to cope with it through humor.
Yeah. And that letting you know that you could joke about it too, that
Right.
it's not something that like we have to deal with like with the utmost reverence.
Right.
Like that, like if we couldn't talk about it both lightly and more seriously, then it would hold too much weight between us.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. If Allison wrote this book in her early 20s, how do you think it would be different?
It would be garbage. I wouldn't have anything of value to share. I kind of wrote this book because I needed this book when I was that age. Like, it took me so long to realize that, like, part of why I had such unhealthy dating habits was my anxiety and my OCD, and that it wasn't, like, something that was just fundamentally wrong with me as a person. And once I could, like, see how that was impacting things, it sort of, like, first, like, took, like, the shame off a little bit, and then also was like, oh, I have some, like, now that I understand what's going on, now I have a better way of being able to get it under control. So what would your final review of the book be?
I would give it 14 out of 8 dream man icons. That's what I would say. I mean, just huge stuff over here. And really that's my biggest conclusion of the book, is that it's going to help people, and that it's funny, and that it really helped you,
Land you?